All right, guys, what's up? It's Adam from Panfish Nation, and today I'm going to talk to you about my Carolina Skiff JV17. So this Carolina Skiff is my main fishing boat. I've spent a lot of time on it. I bought it used in 2018 for $9,000. So I've been using it about 5 years now. And I thought I'd do this video to kind of just talk about the boat a little bit in case you're interested in buying a Carolina Skiff JV17 or even a JV16 or any of the JV series Carolina Skiffs. They're very popular boats, and in this video it's going to be like an MTV crib style. I'm going to go over from the bow to the stern, all the different features, talk about the boat, what I like, what I don't like, and hopefully that'll give you some information if you're interested in buying one, or maybe you are trying to do some research, maybe you're trying to sell one, whatever the case may be. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so first thing about the boat, this is a 2014 model Carolina Skiff JV17. I am the second owner, okay? So I bought this boat after someone bought it new, and it only had 20 hours on the engine when I bought it. Now since then, I've put on probably around 200 or 250 hours over the past couple years, but I just want to talk a little bit about some of the main things. So right off the bat, it comes with this Suzuki 4-stroke 40 horsepower engine. Now it's a 4-stroke, which means it's very quiet, which is my favorite, absolutely favorite thing about it. Here is the actual model. It is the DF40A, and you can see the engine is actually a 2013, but the boat itself is a 2014. The capacity plate on this boat is rated for 4 persons or 564 pounds. Now I primarily fish just 2 people on this, me and my dad, and it works out really great. As you can see, you've got the pedestal seat in the back and the pedestal seat in the front. These seats are removable, all right? They're just the swivel seats, right? And they are removable. So I mainly do freshwater fishing, but I live here on the coast of Florida, so I also do some inshore saltwater fishing. Usually when I'm doing saltwater fishing, I remove this front seat because I kind of use this as like a casting deck up front. Now the previous owner put on this Minn Kota Riptide trolling motor, all right, which I really like. This is a 12-volt trolling motor, and it's tapped. He added the plug socket here. So up front there is a dedicated 12-volt battery and an onboard charger, which makes it really, really nice. It's right in there, and right here is the plug. So I can just run my extension cord right to the boat, to the onboard charger, which charges the dedicated battery, 12 volts, right here to the trolling motor. This is a 55-pound thrust, and it's the remote control version. Doesn't have the iPilot, but it does have the remote control and the foot pedal. And 55 pounds is enough. It's plenty for this boat with 2 people. The thrust on that is plenty to move it. This boat hull is not that heavy. I don't know exactly what it is off the top of my head, but it's not that heavy, so that's enough. Now up front here you have 2 storage compartments. In this one here, I just keep my nav lights, a net, some extra rope, things like that. And then over on this side here is where I actually keep the anchor, right? So this is where I keep my front anchor. I have a front and rear anchor, which really helps for fishing. But there's the battery. You can see, keep a couple life jackets and throwables, things like that. This particular, these 2 hatches access this entire front deck, but it's not watertight, okay? It's not waterproof. You will get a little bit of leaking here and mainly under here, because you can see this deck is like a cap that's put onto the actual floor of the hull of the boat. Okay, moving on to the center console here. The previous owner added these pole holders, which is great. We use those for storage. And in the front here, it has this Carolina Skiff seat cushion cooler. So this is a lockable compartment. And inside here, this is technically supposed to be a cooler. It's a little dirty, but you can see the drain plug down there, and you can use this to put ice in. We don't use it for that. We always bring a cooler, but you could. We keep our cast net in here most of the time. This is a great seat for, you know, that extra passenger whenever you're riding along. Now, one thing about this particular JV17 series is this is tapped for a bimini top. And I have a bimini top. I just always keep it in the garage. We hardly ever use it. But that's what this rail system is here, and this bracket here, and this clip is here. So, you know, the bimini system, it has 3 poles on each side, comes up and over the boat, and then you can adjust the height and tension with this track here. Like I said, we hardly ever use it. Moving to the back of the boat here, you've got a rear live well, which is here, which is really nice because if you're like me and you fish with, you know, live minnows, shrimp, shiners, things like that, this live well is great. It's also big enough to revive fish if you need to do that. Now here is the main seat, the driver's seat, and normally there is a cushion here. You can see this is kind of recessed. Normally there is a cushion. I've removed the cushion because I hardly ever sit down on it, and it was getting so dry rotted from sitting out in the sun. But underneath that is this main storage hatch. Now this one here is where we keep all of the life vests for the boat. So I can keep 4 life vests in here, no problem, which I rarely have 4 people on the boat anyway, but that's where we keep those. Rear pedestal seat here is removable as well. You can see here's the pedestal, and these are just the factory Carolina Skiff seats. So these are now, what, 7 years old, and a little bit of cracking and stuff from the sun. I keep my boat out in the sun most of the time. It's hardly ever covered, so you know, I'm pretty rough on my stuff, but it's held up. It's held up pretty well. We're gonna come back to the back of the boat here. I want to look here at the other side on the console. So going back to the console here, same thing, pole holders on this side. Now, inside the boat, let me jump in here. Ooh, okay. We got a nice stainless steel steering wheel with a suicide knob, which is really great and handy. You got your standard factory Suzuki throttle here, right? Forward, neutral, reverse. It also does have the gear override button here, so you can rev your engine if needed. The previous owner put on this Humminbird Helix 5 fish finder, which is great. It's worked out really well for me and my uses. Factory gauges here. You've got a mile/hour gauge, you've got a volt gauge, you've got a fuel gauge, you've got an RPM gauge, and then as far as your switches, you've got right here, you've got a your DC voltage, right? So you can plug in a cigarette adapter, and then these are your switches. This is set up for aerator, accessory, which is the actual fish finder, accessory 2, bilge, and nav lights and horn. Okay, now on my boat, the actual not all the gauges work. So this fuel gauge isn't hooked up because this has an external fuel gauge. It doesn't have an internal tank. RPMs work, mile/hour, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but the Humminbird has built-in speed on it. So this obviously tracks your speed and direction and things like that, along with obviously your bottom imaging. So I just monitor my speed on this. Now about speed, all right, so with this boat, and if I have 2 people in it, which is what I average fish with, 2 people in this boat with gear, I can hit about 29, maybe 30 miles an hour, full throttle, and that's on a calm day without a strong headwind. If you have a strong headwind and you're really loaded down, you're looking at more like 25 miles an hour, which is plenty fast for me. This is a fishing boat. 99% of what I do in this boat is fishing. I don't really do any pleasure boating. I do a lot of fishing. I do scalloping, and it's almost always freshwater, but like I said, I do some inshore saltwater as well for snook, trout, redfish, things like that. So let's go over here to the back of the boat. Let me show you this side. This is how you access the external fuel tank. So right in here, oh, I need to burp that. Right in here is the external fuel tank. This is a 6.5 gallon tank. And because this engine is a 40, right, I get excellent fuel mileage out of this. I actually haven't checked it to see what it is like per gallon, but I will say that I can fish probably 3 full days on a 6 gallon tank, you know, so I can fish a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I don't have to worry about refueling. It is a 4-stroke. This particular model does have the power trim, which is really nice. Trim up, trim down. You got your handles here on the side. Now, I'm not sure if it came with this or not, or the owner installed it, but this is a ladder bracket. So you can pull this pin, and I have a big stainless steel ladder that slides into here, and that allows you to climb up and down out of the boat, especially if you're scalloping or anything like that. Here's the original manufacturer sticker, Carolina Skiff, Coosa Composites. Here is the fish finder. Now, it does have these. These are just automatic trim tabs. So I don't have I don't have electric trim tabs up front. These are automatically adjusting trim tabs. So I believe you can change the tension on these, but they just help you kind of get up and down off of a plane. I haven't ever adjusted them or played with them at all. and I haven't had any issues. This is my transducer here, and you can see it is broken off. That's probably why my speed isn't working. It's an easy fix. I just need to rewire it and get a new transducer, or excuse me, speedometer, to put in here. Here's the drain plug. I just got done rinsing the boat, and the trailer that it's on is a nice aluminum trailer. So it's a single axle trailer. It's a Continental, and take you up here to the front. One thing I do like that this owner installed was this larger wheel here in the front. So this is the standard wheel that comes on the trailer. He installed this larger one because when you're cranking this thing up, what was happening is the trolling motor was catching and hitting. So this larger wheel pushes the boat up higher and allows you to get on and off the trailer without hitting your trolling motor. But here's the hull, so you can see what the hull looks like on a JV17. It's got a semi-V front, okay? You can see that semi-V front, and then it gradually goes to a flat back. And I believe that's kind of the signature style of these JV17s. On a flat, calm day, this boat is fantastic. On a light chop, it does well. When you start getting into a heavy chop or a strong crosswind, because the gunnels are so low, it can be a little bit wet, right? It also has a pretty narrow beam. I don't know exactly what it is off the top of my head. If you know, leave a comment down below, but I think the beam on this is around a little over 5 feet. So it's a pretty narrow beam boat, which means it can get a little rocky, like I said, in rough seas. Now this is a 17-foot model, so I fish it mainly with 2 people, but I could take up to 4 on this, but 4 gets a little bit crowded. One thing I don't like about this boat, getting back to that narrow beam, is right here. This is all the walkway you have, okay? So if I'm in the driver's seat back here and I'm driving the boat and I need to come up front, it's very, very narrow to walk through here. And I guess I could remove these pole holders, but that's typically where I keep my poles. So you imagine your reels are sticking out to about here. You only have, about, I would say 15 inches. So you kind of got to squeeze by, and it gets a little annoying. Like me and my dad when we're fishing and we're constantly changing from front to back, switching positions. He's kind of got to go on one side and I got to go around the other, and it gets a little annoying. Now these are the pole holders. I actually added these myself, okay? So don't make fun of me, but there's no pole storage holders back here, and I fish off the back a lot. So I wanted somewhere I could set my poles, but I didn't want to drill into the deck, right? I didn't want to hurt the original hull of the boat. So these are the 2 main bolts that bolt the engine in, and all I did was take those bolts out and put in this 2x4 here and bolted it back on. So this 2x4 is basically, I bought some longer bolts. This 2x4 is just bolted right in, and then on this 2x4 I just screwed in these nice PVC rod holders, which is really great because I got them angled out and back. So when I'm sitting here, I can drive the boat or hook up the trolling motor, and I can have 2 rods, kind of like 2 shotgun rods, out the back and troll, which is really great for whenever I'm trolling for specks or even trolling, trolling the flats. It's just a nice place. This is wasted space. So when I can put 2 rods back here and have them sitting out the back, it's really, really great. What else? So you got your cleats here on the back. This is your rear anchor light install. So this is hooked up to the nav light switch. So you've got a rear anchor light here, and then up front is your front navigation lights here, and the poles for those, these are the plug-in poles. They're in here. I keep them in the front storage. So you got your nav lights here and your anchor lights there, and flip a switch and and turn them on. Let's see what else. If you guys have questions about the Carolina JV17, definitely drop it below in the comments so that I can try and answer any questions for you. Inside here in the center console, there is some storage, right? So I keep a safety kit in here. This is where all my boating safety equipment, fire extinguisher, flare, and all that stuff, sunscreen, kind of turns into a junk drawer sometimes. But like I said, this is a fishing boat. I mean, that's 99% of what I do out of it is fishing. So, I mean, overall, the boat is fantastic. I love it. Now, I will say if you're fishing more than 2 people, it can get a little bit small. If you're fishing in anything over a moderate chop, it can get a little bit wet. And the 40 horsepower engine, although I have no problem getting up on a plane, even with 2 people and some gear, if you do have a strong headwind, okay, and a rough chop, that's when you wish you had a little bit bigger engine. I think a 60 on this, or a 70, something like that, 75 would be perfect. But this does the job because I'm just going from fishing spot to fishing spot. I'm normally running anywhere between 1 and 5 miles to get to my spot, whether I'm fishing in the lake or in the river or on the coast. And yeah, I mean, overall this does a great job for me, but every once in a while you wish you had a little bit more power. The engine itself, let me take this off because I want to show you guys how it looks. This is, like I said, a 2013 Suzuki 4-stroke, but the boat itself is a 2014. But let me show you here what it looks like. Okay, so you can see here it's in pretty darn good shape for a 2013. I guess I'd make it 10 years old this year. Here's where Dad and I changed the oil filter. We changed this July of 21. We do all the oil change ourselves. We change the lower unit oil, things like that. But yeah, this is the Suzuki 4-stroke. It's in pretty good shape. I don't really see any corrosion. I don't clean this. I mean, we just, you know, we don't beat it up too much. There's your dipstick for your oil. Here is your, I believe that's your fuel water separator. I have had to replace that once. But overall, we haven't had to do any major maintenance on this. Takes standard 10W40 oil and 2.7 liters. We actually got in a little bit more than that, if I remember correctly. I have had to replace the carpet on the bunks one time. Not the carpet, excuse me, the nails. The nails rusted out. So that's just because they were old, and we went fishing one day and I just brought my nails and hammer, and before we put it back on the trailer, I just tacked in a whole new set of nails. That was also in sorry about that, might have lost. So in 2021, when we changed the nails on the carpet, and it seems to be holding up fine. So anyway, I'll put up a couple photos here of the boat and a couple fishing pictures, so you guys can see me and my old man TY as we've been using the boat. But you know, Carolina Skiff, I will say this, they've been around a long time. They're not the most expensive boats. They're not the fanciest boats, okay? But they're a great just all-around boat, and that's what I use it for, is just all-around fishing. I'm out there because I want to catch fish. That's my main priority. This boat is not too big for one person, and it's not too small for 2 or even 3 people. Like 2 people and a child, it's excellent. I haven't done any water sports on it, like tubing or skiing or anything like that, but I know it'll pull a tube. And it most likely will pull a skier as well. So anyway, there it is. There's kind of a shot from the back. And again, I just wanted to share this to show you guys this is what I do most of my fishing on. And it's worked out well for me. We've caught a lot of fish on it and hope to catch a lot more. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, drop them below. And be sure to give this video a like. I appreciate y'all watching, and talk to you later.